Won the coin toss and decided to go second is the State Director of Americans for Prosperity. Let's give a warm Saline County welcome to Ryan Norris. Ryan?
Thank you for having me again. Thank you, Judge, for your comments. Yes, roads are significant and important to the state of Arkansas. We're not arguing for bad roads. We're not arguing for fair roads. We want good roads. But we also have to look at the mathematics, and we also have to look at the principle of this issue. So firstly, there's the constitutionality of it, that it technically did not have to go into a constitutional amendment. What it is that if your elected officials would have gone another route and voted straight up in a simple majority to continue a sales tax outside of the Constitution, that probably would not have played well in politics. How many of you would have voted for someone who increased your sales taxes after one was promised to have sunsetted? Probably you would have had struggle thinking about that. So it's the politically safe way to say that we're going to refer it to the people, but then we're going to make you feel very bad about voting against it. And that's what we have here, is that in the subtext, and not in the subtext of these comments here, but in the subtext is, we have bad roads, it's all your fault, you haven't paid enough money. And if you vote against issue 1, even though it may be in your best interest for you and your family to keep that promised tax money in your pocket, then you have to question yourself as a citizen of Arkansas. I don't believe that that's the proper choice. When looking again at this as a permanent tax, it's a regressive tax. It's supposed to have sunsetted in 2010. And yes, there will always be road issues. In 2012, we had road issues, that's why it was passed. But I have yet to find the elected official who said, I prepared for the 11th year. I set up my county, my city, or my state in such a way that I had the answer, knowing it was going to sunset, that I was going to be prepared for that. In fact, in a meeting in Maumelle, Scott Bennett was asked, what's plan B if issue 1 fails? And Scott said, we have no plan B. Does that sound like someone who, when they pushed for it in 2012, was giving you the real deal? No, it is really not. And the issue, again, is that this was supposed to have sunset. We already have the second highest combined state and local sales tax in the nation. Let that sink in. We're a poor state with 16.2% of our citizens, almost 1 in every 5 you walk by, who cannot afford basic necessities. And this amount of this tax, though many will say it's very little per family per month, could equal another week's worth of groceries for a family. And again, it's not completely being lost, because even when they spend this money that they would save by this tax going from 6.5 to 6%, pardon me, my throat's a little dry, it would be spent in local communities. It would support local jobs. It would support local tax bases if spent locally. And again, that will be economic development. Not just taking it from your pockets and saying, we want economic development to be over here, but not over here, but it allows you greater choice as citizens. And even outside of the combined sales tax, our state sales tax is 9th highest in the nation. 9th highest. And again, we're a poor state. The second highest combined sales tax is Tennessee, and Tennessee doesn't have an income tax, and yet we do. Arkansas is also 15th highest in spending on roads per capita. 15th. We have one of the smallest populations, and yet we're still 15th. This is by the Census Bureau's annual survey on state and local finances. And then we're 11th highest spending on roads as a percentage of income in the state. So as a percentage of our combined income, 11% of that in the state of Arkansas goes to our roads. So issue 1, we believe, is an extension of some bad policy. Because whereas the county roads, I understand, yes, this does affect counties. It also affects the 16,400 miles of current state highway. And when they're being said that we don't have enough money now, and we have 16,400 miles, ARDOT is currently planning to build another 1,700 miles on top of the 1,600 miles. As a taxpayer, it's not only an albatross around our neck, it's an albatross that is continually being fed to become larger. And this needs to be addressed. Additionally, ARDOT, you want to understand why some of our roads are so bad? In the Guidehouse report that all elected officials in here should know and have read, only $190 million of a $2.6 billion total budget was used for maintenance. Less than 10% of their budget has been put forward to maintenance your roads. The question is, where has that money been going? What projects has it been going to? Because what I'm hearing now is it obviously hasn't been here in Saline County. So you need to take a look at that. It rewards a bureaucracy that is under audit. ARDOT is currently being audited by our elected officials to determine where the inefficiencies have been. And just in the preliminary report, they have found between $21 to $35 million of waste and inefficiency just in the preliminary report. That right there could be money used to go towards roads and to even go towards the county roads. In fact, there are other ways of funding our roads, and maybe it's time to look at the turnback funds. Maybe the turnback funds need to be 50-50 and not this 64-33 percentage. Because I think I would trust my county judge, who I can see and talk to on a day-to-day basis, than I would a bureaucracy that doesn't answer to my governor nor to my elected officials, really. And that's what my position is that before we give another dime that gives Arkansas Department of Transportation more money, we need to consider, do we trust them with it? Because the auditors already found out that they don't. And when you look at the subcommittee, transportation subcommittee of August 16th, watch Director Tudor, who pressed up against having a grading system for contractors. Senator Dismay, Senator Hendren grilled her very, very well, and still she wouldn't commit to the idea of changing up the current system that rewards contractors for low bids and not quality work. So before we get all this money again as citizens, before we lose the chance to ever have the ability to hold them accountable again, we need to ask our elected officials to make sure these reforms are taken care of. We still have 2.5 years, pardon me again, throat's getting dry.